the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, is in the United States of America begging the president of the United States, Donald Trump, to let South Africa leave. Cyril Ramaphosa is begging the president of America to let South Africa be, let South Africa enact its laws and policies and implement them without fear or interference from foreign powers. Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the biggest economy in Africa, is begging another president to let his country act on its own and execute its will without interference. He's begging Donald Trump to stop stifling the sovereignty and independence of South Africa and let South Africa execute its will according to its laws and culture and whatever it deems right. This is happening because nations' sovereignties, nations' independence, nations' democracies have been captured, and justice in general has been captured by a few individuals and a few countries around the world who we can call power cartels. So this world is basically running under power cartels, people that you have to consult with, people that you have to ask permission from before you can act, before you can think, before you can execute your will or decisions. And that's basically what's happening. This is the first time the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, is meeting the president of the United States after he, Cyril Ramaphosa, signed a highly controversial bill into law start of this year in January. So in January, Cyril Ramaphosa signed a highly controversial bill into law, and that law now allows the government of South Africa to expropriate privately owned land if that land is deemed equitable and is in public interest. Okay? When that happened, it was around the time when Donald Trump had just become the POTUS the very first few days in office, and that is when the rain started beating South Africa. That act just added to the sourness that already existed between South Africa and Donald Trump after South Africa indicted Israel in the ICJ for genocide in Gaza. Okay, I want you to understand something when it comes to the issue of land in South Africa, because this is really where Trump is coming in. It is said, and I don't know how true this is, but it is commonly said that the white people, the Afrikaners in South Africa, own approximately 70% of the land in South Africa. Okay, so these people hold up 70% of the arable land, and the black people of South Africa are left with the 30%. So when you talk about the government of South Africa passing a law or enacting a law that allows the government to expropriate privately owned land if that land is deemed equitable and in public interest, that law basically is saying that the government will now start taking the lands owned by the Afrikaners if that land is deemed equitable and is in public interest. When we talk about public interest, it has to be because that land is arable. Okay, and that's where Trump is coming in. As I told you, these people will now start losing their land to the black people of South Africa, and that is what justice actually is. Because just look at the population. The black people in South Africa make up like 70% or 80%, I think. Okay, so just imagine all these people owning just 30%, and this 30% population is owning 70% the land. The white people actually not even 30%. They should be like 20% because we still have Indians and whoever else is in South Africa, right? So that is inversely proportional, which is injustice fundamentally. Okay, so yeah, it's important that you get that point because that's what is making Trump go mad. And so apart from unaliving of the white farmers, if we've seen in a few instances, the expropriation of the land from the white holders is part of what Donald Trump and Elon Musk, his aide, the South African born tech billionaire, that is part of what they call in genocide. Because when you take the land from the white holders, that to them amounts to genocide. Okay, but of course these claims have been discredited by a lot of experts and data, and every concerned mind that have tried to scrutinize the matter, they've thrown that claim out. It's not true. And of course, with DA, the white party in the government now in South Africa, would you expect that this, even if there were instances that these heinous acts happened, like the unaliving of the white farmers, you expect that they're going to decline significantly, right? So yeah, that's part of the reason. That's part of what they call in genocide. So ever since, diplomatic and political tensions have been escalating between the two countries, and that led to the expulsion of the South Africa's ambassador in the United States in March this year. Okay, and when I say that Cyril Ramaphosa is begging Donald Trump to let South Africa leave, I want to make you understand why that is happening. South Africa is in a very desperate situation right now, especially economically. So when the diplomatic tensions started escalating and the relations started going south, Donald Trump cut key aids to South Africa. He also threatened to discontinue the AGOA trade relations between South Africa and America. If you understand what AGOA is, AGOA trade deal between some African countries and United States of America, you understand just how big that deal is. So basically, AGOA is the trade deal between some countries in Africa and the government of the United States of America to give access to these countries in Africa to duty-free market in the US for African goods. So African countries export goods to the US duty-free, and they're given free access to the market. And that deal comes with some requirements, of course, or conditions, if you can put it that way. Okay, so South Africa, I'm told, in 2023, it made 2.7 billion USD in that deal, in the AGOA trade deal. That was in 2023. 2.7 billion USD, and honestly, that's quite a deal if you think of it. So away from that, as I said, the government of the US cut key aids to South Africa. I don't understand what kind of aid that is or was, but it has gotten to this point that the president of South Africa has to beg Donald Trump to stop stifling the independence of South Africa and let South Africa make its laws and pass them and execute them and implement them without this fear of being, discontinued or sanctioned. So what happened yesterday in the Oval Office is that Cyril Ramaphosa just defended himself, but Trump was all prepared and he pulled evidence in Kalatas. Okay, so he just pulled the videos of the vehement Malema chanting all these anti-white rhetorics, pulled some graphic images of the white farmers being murdered and whatever, a lot of stuff. Really, he was really prepared. But
turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land.
Death, horrible death. And those people in many cases are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that.
Completely against what he was saying.
So at the end of the meeting, Cyril Ramaphosa said it was very well. Okay, the meeting went very well. So I don't understand what very well means. I'm just hoping and thinking that he struck a deal. Okay, and we talk about a deal, I don't know, because the law cannot be reversed. The land expropriation without compensation law cannot be reversed. Okay, so I don't know what kind of deal he struck, because he has to offer something to have South Africa remain under the AGOA trade deal and keep the aid that the US has been sending to South Africa going. So to retain the aid and their AGOA deal, he has to offer something. And as I said, now that the law cannot be reversed, I don't know what he will be putting on the table. But he himself said the meeting went very well. We're just waiting to hear the actual result of that, or the outcome of that meeting. So yeah, that's what it is. I'm just gonna be watching, and of course I'll update you on anything that comes up.